through a number of connections, and I don't want to go too deep into this because it's not an episode about the McCanns.
But so I didn't ever see anything that was strongly linking him. Can you at least give us one or two snippets
to the
here?
McCanns or to
the McCanns?
To the McCanns, I can, yeah.
Okay, because I didn't see anything.
Yeah,
either.
It sounded like the most circumstantial case based on the reporting that I kept coming across.
There was some circumstantial evidence, but that paired with the fact that his brother said, "Yeah, he's staying with me because he says he burned an RV."
Aha! Okay,
I didn't catch that.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
line.
and then the girlfriend was also like, "Yeah, he like showed up in this car," and I was like, "Get rid of that car. Whose car is that?" Like there was some reporting around it where people close to him, when they were interviewed, told the Mounties like
he had stuff that belonged to them.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like stuff, but that he had shown up and he looked like tired and disheveled, and they were like, "What happened?" He's like, "Oh, I burned down a RV."
Smelled the burned RV.
Yeah, so there was a lot. Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I actually don't think I said this. He is currently serving time for the crime. But it's been a bit of back and forth. Like, he was initially arrested, and then they released him because they didn't have enough evidence, and then they reopened the case, and they found actually maybe they did have enough evidence, so they tried to get him, and he was released again, and then finally they were like, all right, we have enough evidence, and they charged him, and he's now in jail for it.
Well, they tried him before, though. I mean, he was tried twice for the crime, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they kept him in jail for like 4.5 years. Like, they kept him in jail for a long time before they really decided we've got a good case.
Yeah,
I mean, that's one of the things.
And that was rough because he came out and said, I mean, he, of course, like any sane human, he was like, no, I did not do that, because, like, why would you ever be like, yeah, of course I did, right? So he was like, yeah, I didn't do that, and actually the Mounties have ruined my life because they kept me in prison for 4 years trying to figure out if I did this, so, like, that's pretty ruined. Granted, he has a pretty significant rap sheet, already.
Although nothing too terribly violent, frankly. I mean, he was, a lot of it stopped far short of murder.
Vehicular theft in 95, possession of break-in tools, driving a motor vehicle unauthorized, operating an irregular motor vehicle. I want to hear that story.
I think that means a lawnmower.
Trailer and weapon charges in 2009, stealing and burning a truck in 2009, and then careless use of a firearm and unauthorized possession of a firearm in June 2010, leading up to the disappearance of... He
sounds like a loose cannon.
It sounds like
but I mean...
escalating as well.
Maybe, but I mean, still... way short of murder.
Right, I mean, but again,
even
this isn't a story about the McCanns, right?
No,
so, like, I know I opened this can of worms, and we could go back and forth.
But no, it could be said, though, there still could be a connection, even if Vader is innocent.
There's still
too.
It's true. Yeah.
So you're bringing him up because and I've read the reading online too, and I want this for people to understand is that. The idea is that he is responsible for what happened to Stephanie.
Exactly, yeah.
Because he was in that area, and obviously he did some very questionable things.
Yeah. So, one of the things that we can say is that we've said this before about people who have only been convicted of, like, the one murder, but they seem like super skeezy leading up to. It just means they got caught that one time.
Quite often, yeah.
So, with this kind of rap sheet, like, circling around, I'm not saying that people with rap sheets like this are, like, murderers. I'm not saying necessarily that Vader is, but the theory is that that pot that was boiling. Somebody said, and I actually thought this was kind of, it can go either way. But I think it's worth mentioning is that somebody said it's a bad way to do it, but you can kind of start a fire that way. Yeah. Depending on the pot, depending on the stove, depending on
what's nearby, more than
lots of dependence. Yeah. But just because that's lots of dependence doesn't mean that, like, somebody who's kind of a dummy didn't try it.
I gotta tell you, I never saw as much in the boiling pot or kettle as most of the internet seems to, and here's my reason for it is that I've lived in places in the summer where it was hot as hell, and the only way that you could make your house not feel like it was, the desert was to have water on the heat so that there was some moisture in the air. Because I don't know about you, but if it's really hot for a period of time, my sinuses dry out and I'll get nosebleeds. And I know people who will just have a pot of water on simmer or a kettle. People do it with potpourri too, but something to get some moisture in the air so it is just not such an arid environment where you're at all the time. So I was just like, oh, she probably, it could very well have just been something she always had going.
Well,
and on a simmer, like boil could be a term that inflames people's ideas of the story.
Yeah.
Well, there's a simpler answer for that, and that is that whoever intruded upon her time didn't spend the night. They came in the morning and they interrupted her morning routine of boiling water for tea or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But I want to run with this one real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to run with the idea of somebody who is serving time for murdering retirees and then setting the scene on fire within like a close proximity is at least somebody who's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Right?
And managed to dispose of 2 bodies without them ever being found.
Yeah, the bodies of the McCanns have never been found.
That's why, Vader or not, I think the same perp, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I wouldn't either.
Not at all.
And I really wouldn't be surprised if it was a really poorly informed attempt at starting a fire in the cabin. Because again, I think we can safely assume that whoever did this didn't really understand the procedure of fire watching. They probably didn't think that within 15 minutes somebody would be there checking on her, right? Especially since I think they let so many calls happen. I think they let like 3 or 4 calls happen and like picked up and hung up and then finally unplugged the phone. And then at that point, the supervisor was like, okay, well, we're definitely sending someone out there. Like, what is even going on? So I don't think it's a good way to start a house fire, but if somebody thought they had a long time and it looked like, there was wood around and they could really start a fire, I don't know. I don't think it's a great theory, but I think it's worth...
It's possible.
If you were intending to use a empty pot to start a fire, it would make a hell of a lot more sense to just pour the water out of the pot and put the empty pot on top of the heat source with the intention of it then causing, like, spattering hot water is not going to cause the fire. It's going to be something...
Well, it's not the spattering, it's after it dries out.
Right, so my point is, you empty the water out of the container that you are heating to speed up this, I'm going to burn everything down with the pot or a dry pot or a dry kettle thing.
Unless you're trying to give yourself time to create an alibi. Like, if you're... So, I mean, it's like
a long time for a dry pan or pot.
No, it's not likely to set anything.
It's not likely to set. No, absolutely, it's not. And like I am continuing to say, I think it's a bad way to start a fire. But I can see a kind of a dummy thinking, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set this pot of water to boil because I know that'll. He's wrong, right? But he says, okay, because I think that'll start a fire. But it'll start a fire in like an hour and a half, right? So I have time to go back to Edson to go sit in a local cafe, create like a serious alibi for myself so that people know where I am at like whatever given time, and so that like even more, if for whatever reason somebody were like, oh, I wonder where Firestarter McGee is, at the time, then I at least can say, well, I was at the coffee shop.
But here's the thing. Number one,
or to give himself enough lead time.
It's a lousy way to start a fire.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a lousy way to start a fire. Number one. Number two, if you really want to have a delayed reaction fire, you use the microwave. That's what
I don't know that there was a microwave there.
That's a good point. There maybe was, but there's better ways than the pot on the stove. I think probably somebody just put a pot on there to boil.
And forgot about it.
And just forgot about it.
I agree.
I'm sitting in Devin's chair, so I am channeling her, and I am saying that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. While we're on the topic of Edson, because Edson's pretty close.
We're about to slander the entire town.
Not the entire town.
Try to remember,
Edson is small.
This is Canada, and Canada's only a few hundred miles from here.
Yeah, that's true.
They could come down and murder us.
Edson is
be nice.
Only about 8,500 people as of 2016. I don't know where the population has gone since then.
Well, if it's chock full of killers, and probably downward.
Well, but that's the thing that's like weird is that like you go through the threads and people are like, oh yeah, well there's this other rapist from Edson that it could be, or there's this other murderer from Edson that it could be. And it's like, how many freaking murderers and rapists live in that area?
Because people reach back way in the archives. I mean, there could be somebody who lived in Edson and committed a string of rapes 25 or 30 years prior, and maybe doesn't even live in the area anymore, but they'll find that. So then they'll start, well, look at this, and it's got to be this person. Like, we have to be careful with that, because
absolutely.
The scope of people's...
Well, it's also in a town that size, really doesn't take more than a couple of families of dirtbags to really skew the statistics.
True. Absolutely true. Yeah. Another theory that I saw, which is less vicious.
Less vicious? Okay.
I mean, I don't know. It's pretty vicious still.
What is that?
It's my understanding. So Edson, it's my understanding that Edson is like, you can see it basically from this fire tower. Mm-hmm. You can see into it, or like the outskirts.
Okay.
I am given to understand that Edson has a pretty intense meth problem.
A lot of small towns do.
Many small towns do.
Yes.
That is true, yes. And, other crime things. Like, a lot of people go missing on Highway 16, for instance, which, again, is the one that's like 3 miles away from the fire tower. So there is also this theory, which is, again, I think a pretty interesting theory, that Stephanie could have witnessed something, or at least been perceived to have witnessed something go down.
How far from Edson is this tower?
It's not that far. It's
a couple of miles.
Yeah.
But I think Devin actually hit the nail on the head by saying perceived. She may, I mean, let's be honest, when people are tweaking, they come up with some pretty kooky ideas, and they go, there's the fire tower. Oh, God, the person in the fire tower was totally watching me, and on down the path
or alternately, like I said, a lot of people go missing from Highway 16, which was 3 miles away from, but like easily to be spotted, perceived again, right? So if somebody kidnapped somebody that like is somehow not even connected to this, or is a Jane Doe missing from who knows where, but somebody kidnapped someone and thought, oh, I bet whoever's in that tower saw this, better go take care of that. Also, like, unfortunately, that could also give reason to take the bed sheets with them. That if they kidnap somebody, they go to the cabin, they kill Stephanie, rape or whoever they kidnapped, and then take it all with them.
Your second and third characters in this story now,
that would also, I mean, that's like extra. That adds an additional tragedy to this whole story. But the idea that either somebody knew that she saw something bad happen, or thought that she saw something illegal or bad happen, and thought, I gotta go take that witness out.
This is one of the lamest of the theories that are out there. I know you didn't come up with this.
I didn't come up with any of these theories.
Yeah, it's like the whole idea. It's like, oh my God, there's a tower 2 miles away. I'm sure that, because
they had their binoculars on me the whole time.
I don't even at 2 miles. I had not seen yet a pair of binoculars that are gonna actually bring the kind of resolution and magnification to make me actually be able to identify somebody committing a crime.
But I will say, like, what Steve was saying before is super valid. That like Portland used to, I don't know if we still do, but definitely used to have a pretty serious meth problem.
It's moved to Vantucky.
And I know enough people, like I interacted with a couple people who were like really, really heavily addicted to meth. And, I've definitely seen some of the weird, insane spirals that drug can send people on. And I don't think it's beyond reason to think that somebody could have, gotten high on meth and thought, oh yeah, that person saw me. I gotta go take him out. Yeah. And then also, oftentimes, I feel like I should say not to like stereotype people who are on meth, but like oftentimes people who are on meth like will take refuge wherever they can. And so, again, then we circle back to like maybe they stayed the night. They woke up, they were like...
I would actually buy more into the theory that somebody, not even on meth or whatever, somebody just needed a place to hole up for, half a day, like a night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also, like, it's also possible, like, I don't know what time she went to bed, but they could have thought it was, I don't know, except for her truck was outside, so never mind. I was going to say they could have thought it was just an abandoned, empty cabin and then been surprised and killed her, but I don't think that's true. I think with the truck outside, they probably could have known it was occupied.
I have a issue with the this drug-addled theory, as well as I did with Vader, is that the fact that the sheets were taken, like the whole conversation of, well, they knew their DNA was on it, so they were hiding it. Like, I think that's a mental process that would be beyond the people in that type of circumstance. I could see it being the, bundle the body up in something to put it in the car and get rid of it. But I wouldn't, to protect yourself to hide your DNA like that, I think that would be beyond somebody in that condition.
Well, if it was just somebody who was like homeless or on the run or whatever like that, maybe they wanted a couple of pillows and some blankets just, for camping.
I guess I don't have a problem with that as much because I'm not necessarily willing to say that they woke up in the same condition that they committed the crime in.
I always struggle with this when I'm trying to put things delicately, but there are some long-term cognitive effects to serious usage. And
there can be.
To long-term serious usage of that drug, I think that the majority of people would find somebody to be, I would perceive somebody to be in the state to have gone to this length for whatever. They would have to be pretty far in the bag.
I want to agree with you, yes. But from personal experience, again, nobody I know murdered someone, right? But I will say that, the people that I interacted with were two totally different people, when high and then when not high. And so I don't know. Again, it just depends on the person.
We're grabbing at straws here.
Oh,
we
absolutely,
have no idea.
Because there's no good theory on this. There's one other theory in terms of like her getting murdered, and that is that apparently she didn't always get along with the local guides. There are a lot of adventure sports in areas like this. Oh,
yeah.
And so there were a couple people who were guides for like kayaking trip or hiking, mountaineering, whatever, or whatever.
Like that,
and apparently she didn't totally get along with a lot of them, and so there was a theory that she'd had a bad interaction with one of them, and they were like, well, I'm just gonna go kill her. But I feel like that is like of all of them, that's the dumbest. Like, somehow I even believe Joe's forthcoming theory that a bear ate her more than I believe any of the other stuff.
Area.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about your bear theory?
The bear
your
theory?
Animal attack theory?
Well, weren't you going to talk about another theory whereby she staged a murder and just left to start a new life?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to end with that because it'd be like a nice...
Oh, okay, nice thing. Yeah, well, I kind of like the bears thing too, because at least it means that a couple of bears got a good meal out of it, which is better than some crackhead murdering her randomly.
But does it explain the missing blankets and pillows in Gold Watch?
It does, because they were Yogi and Boo Boo, and they needed to buy a picnic basket.
Yeah, Yogi would like a new watch. That's probably true. But I don't know that...
If you think about it, Yogi always had a watch.
But here's what I will say... Yes.
That's what he did, yeah.
But here's what I will say is that it was her gold watch, and I cannot imagine... I mean, I imagine her wrist was about the same size as mine. I don't imagine that would fit on Yogi's wrist.
Listen, bears don't understand the sizing chart.
True.
So you can't hold that against them.
True.
Bears are grumpy for a reason, because they buy ill-fitting jewelry on a regular basis.
But Yogi and Boo Boo... Right? Mm-hmm. Boo Boo? Notwithstanding, do you have an explanation for what could have happened to those?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like if she decided to take off and go for an early morning hike.
With her blankets and pillows?
Well, I'll get to that in a second.
Oh, okay.
But if she wanted to take off and go for a hike, she probably would have taken her watch with her because she had to check in at a certain time, so she had to keep track of the time. Goes off, gets eaten by bears, and we never hear from her again. As far as everything else that was missing, it wasn't a hell of a lot of stuff. And, I'm really not sure exactly how they accounted for what was there that should have been there versus not there, etc. I mean, I really don't know how they did that.
It would be my guess, and this is just a guess, but growing up, we had a cabin that we shared with 3 other families. And it was cabin stuff.
Yeah.
You had your cabin pillows.
Permanent stuff that was there.
Totally. So it'd be my guess that they furnished everything, except for food, consumables.
Yeah.
And your clothes.
They provided that stuff for you, especially the hike-in ones. You don't have to carry all that stuff. So I don't know why they wouldn't also for the drive-in ones. So that's my guess as to how they were able to figure out what was missing, was because they said, well, we have this inventory that says it should have this stuff. Now,
she might have hated that crap and replaced it. And
I was going to say, that does not explain that. I presume that there were only 2 pillows total.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, so...
in the whole cabin, but, it's true she could have just hated it, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, it's like this inventory of stuff that there sure is missing. I'm a little questioning.
She was also the only fire watcher there for the last 13 years.
Yeah.
So it's possible...
And maybe she was just sick of that crap, and this year she decided it was time for a change.
Totally. Or,
as far as the boiling water, I got to tell you, people do just put water on and forget about it.
Yeah.
And it has happened.
Yeah.
There was a reason for her to wear a watch. She left, I think, and I think what they need to do is just check all the bear poop in about a 100-mile radius. They'll probably find a gold watch in there.
So you're saying that the phone calls that were picked up and put down, the phone unplugged, and the blood around is just like made up? That's just an addition to the story?
Would have been really smart bears.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I just wanted an extra theory to fatten things up a little bit. So I don't know. It's just all this talk about depravity and serial killers and meth heads.
It's depressing.
I think the whole bear theory is actually a little more cheery.
It is somehow. Yeah, and that's, my other theory is like it's just a staged murder. It's just, it's deer blood and
faked her death.
Yeah, and
to run away with Baloo,
or to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro again. I mean, like, I don't know. One thing I will add to the kind of more depressing, especially the witness to the crime, but other theories where maybe she was murdered by somebody she knew. Maybe she witnessed a crime. We mentioned earlier that the police have not and do not release what relatives she spoke with the night before, right? Additionally, as far as I can tell, I've never seen the last name of the daughter released, and I believe that's intentional. I also believe it's intentional that they have not released the names of any other family members or anybody else who's connected to Stephanie.
They printed a map of all the Firewatch cabins and the ones that are easy to get to, and the ones that are staffed. I
almost wonder if the police are intentionally withholding this because they suspect it's somebody with a vendetta against Stephanie, and they think, okay, she talked to somebody on the phone between the time that she witnessed this crime and the time we got to her, right? So that person is now also a target. I don't think that's accurate, but it adds a little bit to that theory. But all I want to say is that I really hope that she just threw deer blood everywhere and left.
To go live with Alan Quartermain in Africa near Kilimanjaro?
Yeah, Steve Irwin, whatever.
Yeah, I think
that's Australia.
I think you're probably right, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, close enough. It's a foreign country.
Where they speak a weird version of English. It's fine. It's all the same.
Yeah, the money's strange. Yeah. It won't fit in your wallet.
Please I don't know.
There's bugs everywhere.
I don't have any good theories on this.
I would say the random killing is probably the most likely deal.
I would too,
as far as somebody having a vendetta against her, it's hard to imagine. She seemed pretty harmless. I mean, she seemed like...
and really nice.
Yeah, seemed like a nice person.
Or just a cranky old lady. If she wasn't nice, she was just a cranky old lady. And
but so what? I mean, if she was cranky or not, she was out in the middle of nowhere. There's not too many people who get upset by her.
Yeah. No,
but actually, my understanding, too, is she was actually pretty nice. People would drop by the cabin, strangers or friends or whatever, and she would always be welcoming.
I think the cabin had 1,000 visitors a year or something like that.
It was on trail or something, right?
Yeah. Right on it.
Yeah.
So. I don't know. Yeah. But as a final parting thought for any of you who, are the killer or are Yogi or whatever, there is a $20,000 reward for
Turn yourself in.
Well, for any leads leading to a significant break in the case.
Yeah.
So that's not nothing.
Boo Boo, give up Yogi.
Yeah, do it.
No, definitely, yeah.
Do it.
Rat somebody out. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the end of this really uplifting story. In which somehow a bear attack is the
nicest,
kindest theory.
I know.
Oh, God.
Well, at least with the bears, you really can't hold it against them,
Yeah, although bears
People
tend
are supposed to know better.
Well, bears tend to only attack when provoked, but
yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, if you want to see some of the links to some of our research, you can do that on the website. You can also find links to our merch. I know at our meetup, a lot of people were like, can we buy shirts? Well, guess where you can buy a shirt? From a link on the website, not even on our actual website. You're welcome. You can also download or stream the episodes there. That website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You can connect with us on a myriad of social media sites.
A myriad?
Yeah.
Myriad?
Whatever. Some word that starts with an M.
It's like Africa and Australia tour.
Buttload,
Multitude.
Yeah. Okay, that works too.
Multitude of different social medias. Yeah. You can find us on Twitter, where we are Thinking Sideways. You can find us on Reddit, where we have a subreddit just called Thinking Sideways. You can also find us on Facebook, where there is a group and a page. If you do want to join the group, you have to answer the questions.
Ooh.
We literally will not approve you if you don't answer the questions.
Like, what is your favorite color? What is the average airspeed of a swallow?
Those are the questions, yes. You can also, where you're finding us to stream us. It's, if it's on iTunes, if it's on Stitcher, if it's who the heck knows where else it is. Lots of them. If you can subscribe, do so. If you can leave a comment and a rating, a review and a rating, do so. And then finally, if you want to talk to us about how offended you are about my Canadian impression, especially in the wake of Jim Leahy's death. If you want to correct us about anything, you want to suggest episodes, you just want to talk to us, you can do all that via our email, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. I think that's everything.
Think so?
I wasn't paying attention.
Great. All of that having been said, we are going to get on out of here.
Hang on. Let me think. Nope, nothing. Bye.
Look! Fire!
No!
Bears.
Thinking Sideways is not supported by Aperture Science. Instead, it's supported by the generous donations of our listeners on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/thinkingsideways to learn more. And thanks.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply. What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I'm Joe, joined as always by
Devin
and
Steve.
And if you are not familiar with us, every week we get together and solve another really cool mystery. Right?
Or try to.
No, we solve them.
Oh, yeah, we solve them. Yeah.
I mean, we solve them.
Of course. Yeah.
Get on, man.
Either we use our amazing powers of ratiocination to deduce the answers, or we just...
That was a really big word that I don't understand, so let's just go.
Yeah, or we just torture the data until it confesses. But, one way or the other, we get our answer. Okay, let's talk about this week's mystery. This week we're going to talk about the Cyclops.
Wait.
And by that I don't mean the huge hairy dude with an eyeball in his forehead.
Was the Cyclops hairy?
I
thought he was
depends
just
on the version.
Dude.
Yeah, there were a lot of different versions of the Cyclops.
You're thinking of the Sinbad version, the old 60s movie or 70s movie? Yeah. No, not that one.
Yeah.
Sinbad.
That's only one of them.
Yeah, Odysseus actually had to deal with the Cyclops.
That's the one she's talking about.
Yeah, and he was kind of clever about it. He just poked his eye out. And after that, the Cyclops was kind of at his mercy.
Yeah.
He kind of pulled the Three Stooges on him.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, let's talk about our Cyclops, different one. We're talking about the USS Cyclops, which some of you may have heard about. This was a huge deal way back in the day when it happened, and then it sort of went away, and then it sort of made a comeback, as mysteries go.
Yeah, it kind of did.
There's a reason for that. I'll explain that in a little bit. But the U.S. Navy in the early 19th century, I think it was actually launched in 1910, but it didn't get commissioned into the Navy till 1917. But on March 4th, 1918, the USS Cyclops left Barbados for Baltimore, Maryland, with 306 crew and passengers on board and a load of manganese ore, and it vanished.
What?
Without a trace.
What?
It disappeared.
Yep. Zip. Just gone.
Was it near Bermuda by any chance?
They did go through the Bermuda Triangle. As a matter of fact, there were a lot of people theorizing about that. But yeah, there was no radio distress call. No wreckage at all was ever found, not even an oil slick on the water. They searched for it.
Ever?
Ever. Well, somebody did claim in 1920 to have found the wreckage of a lifeboat that had U.S. Cyclo stenciled on it, he claimed. But that's obviously a boat called the Cyclo and not the Cyclops.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
It's missing some letters.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the thing about it is it was a large ship, 542 feet long.
That's
It's
pretty
big.
The big ship, and a ship that size doesn't just sink. I mean, it takes a while.
Usually.
I mean, the Titanic, which was even bigger, of course, but it had a catastrophic collision, catastrophic damage, and it still took hours to sink. And yet this thing sank so quickly, or else it was beamed up to a spaceship.
It seems to have, if it sunk so quickly, nobody got a chance to run to the radio and hit the help button.
Yeah, or launch the lifeboats or anything like that. Yeah, so that's where the mystery is. And normally at this point in the story, I'd stop and thank somebody for suggesting it, but but actually there was no suggestion, so I had to put on my internet boots and go out and find this mystery myself.
Oh my God, honest work.
Yeah, and it was on a page with the heading 10 Mysterious Disappearances So Creepy You'll Wet Your Pants.
I actually think I've watched that YouTube video. Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I mean, I spent more time perusing pages like this. I think I've seen every single page that has a heading like this: 10 mysterious murders or 10 mysterious. I've seen every single one of them.
This is pretty creative, though. To wet your pants.
Yeah, to wet your pants.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there was another one that's like you will soil your drawers.
Some variation on. Yeah, no, I mean it's true. Like we've talked about, we watch those videos at my house on YouTube, and I think we've kind of hit a point where I'm like, have we seen this one? And he's like, yeah, like 5 times. And I'm like, well, it's less than most of them, so let's watch this one. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
They're good. I mean, they're good fodder, but, at this point, we've covered a lot of them.
Yeah, we really have. We're going to have to start making stuff up here pretty quick. The disappearance of the Cyclops was a pretty big deal at the time. I think for well over 10 years, it was all kinds of articles were being written, tons of speculation, and a lot of theories have been floated, ranging from a giant octopus,
awesome,
Bermuda Triangle shenanigans, mutiny, murder, treason, U-boats.
You are just handing it down
cargo
right now.
shifting. Yeah.
Jeez.
I stopped after the second one. I realized I didn't have anything else.
Yeah. All right, back to it. You guys be serious now.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. The Cyclops was one of 4 ships built for the Navy in a very limited class. It was called the Proteus class. And they were built to haul coal for refueling U.S. warships, because this was before the transition to oil. And
that's a big problem in war when you run on coal is delivering coal.
Yeah.
If you don't have fuel, your warships can't fight war.
They can't do a hell of a lot, believe it or not. Yeah.
That's not how it works.
It is. So you basically have to have you got to get a big tanker.
Yeah.
Of the seas to run around and deliver coal to everybody.
Yeah, and that's what they did. Obviously, it's better these days. We have nuclear reactors and fun stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, because those are so much better.
Yeah. Or as the captain of my cruise ship used to say, they just have an electric cord that plugs in Miami and just goes along the floor. Yeah, I mean,
of the ocean?
The Bahamas aren't that far. Yeah, the floor of the ocean.
Yeah,
you can buy that long of extension cord at like the Home Depot or something,
you just,
right?
Or tie them together.
Just remember when you plug them together, though, to tie a knot so
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and also...
Is that not true? Was he lying to me?
Lying.
I'm sure he wasn't lying to you. Where was I? Oh, yeah, the other ships in the class were named Proteus, Jupiter, and Nereus. And a fun fact, every ship in this class came to a bad end.
Yeah, this was not a good design.
Well, maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, the Cyclops displaced 19,670 tons. That's loaded.